In a world full of fleeting moments and endless distractions, what if I told you that hidden within the words of C.S. Lewis are profound truths that could change the way you see your life, your relationships, and even your purpose? In this video, we're diving deep into 37 of his most powerful quotes, each one a beacon of wisdom that challenges us to rethink our values, confront our fears, and embrace the beauty of life's journey. From the idea that true happiness isn't found in what we possess, but in who we are, to the incredible power of love, humility, and forgiveness, these lessons are both timeless and transformative. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand these insights, but feel inspired to apply them in your own life. So, why should you watch? Because within these words lie the keys to finding deeper meaning, peace, and resilience in a world that often feels overwhelming. Stay with us as we uncover the wisdom that has the potential to lead you to a more fulfilling and extraordinary life. This introduction sets the tone by emotionally engaging the viewers and promises them deep insights and personal growth, encouraging them to watch until the end. Before we start, I'd appreciate your support. If you like the video, please subscribe and hit the bell to stay updated on future lessons from God. 1. Everything changes. Nothing ever stays the same. C.S. Lewis's profound observation touches on one of the most mysterious and emotionally charged truths of life: the inevitable passage of time and the constant nature of change. This statement, "Everything changes, nothing ever stays the same," serves as a powerful reminder of life's ever-evolving rhythm. This truth is woven into the very fabric of existence, from the ceaseless motion of the universe, governed by the laws of physics, to the shifts in our personal lives, relationships, and the world around us. Whether it's the changing seasons, the rise and fall of empires, or the quiet transformations within our hearts, change is the one constant that unites all aspects of life. But what makes this truth so captivating, and at times heart-wrenching, is how subtly it unfolds. C.S. Lewis's insight. Isn't it funny how day by day nothing changes, but when you look back, everything is different? Strikes a deep emotional chord. In the blur of daily routines, the small, almost invisible changes go unnoticed. We wake up, go through the motions, and fall asleep, believing that tomorrow will be just another repeat of today. Yet, when we take a step back, whether it's looking at an old photograph, revisiting a memory, or reflecting on a past year, we are often hit with an overwhelming realization that everything is indeed different. The people, places, and feelings we once knew have shifted, evolved, or perhaps faded, leaving us with a mixture of nostalgia, longing, and sometimes regret. The beauty and sorrow of this realization lie in the dual nature of change itself. It can bring joy and growth, but also loss and sorrow. We find ourselves yearning for the innocence of childhood, the simplicity of days gone by, or the presence of loved ones who are no longer here. Yet, change also brings renewal, opportunities, and the possibility of transformation, pushing us toward new experiences and uncharted paths. In the end, Lewis's words remind us that while change is inevitable, how we perceive it, whether with fear, gratitude, or hope, is within our control. The challenge is not to resist the tide of change, but to embrace it, to appreciate the quiet beauty in both the subtle and dramatic shifts in our lives, and to understand that, in the grand scheme of things, it is change that allows us to grow, to love, and to live fully. 2. There are far, far better things ahead than the ones you leave behind. C.S. Lewis's phrase, "There are far, far better things ahead than the ones you leave behind," is a powerful testament to the human spirit's ability to hope, to believe, and to push forward, even when life seems steeped in uncertainty or loss. These words are more than just an invitation to optimism. They are a beacon of light, urging us to lift our gaze from the weight of the past and embrace the limitless potential of the future. Life is a series of moments, and as much as we may cherish the ones we've lived, Lewis reminds us that the best is not behind us. It lies in the road ahead. In times of sorrow, heartbreak, or when facing the inevitable transitions that life demands, we are often tempted to cling to what is familiar, to hold tight to the things or people we've lost, fearing that we may never experience such happiness or fulfillment again. But Lewis's words gently yet firmly challenge this notion, suggesting that by letting go, we open ourselves to something far greater than we can currently imagine. His message is one of faith. Faith that the future holds opportunities that will not only match but surpass the joys of the past. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This perspective can be especially comforting during moments of deep transition, when we feel as though the ground beneath us has shifted and we are unsure of how to move forward. It's easy to look back with a heavy heart, focusing on the losses and the what-ifs, feeling as though we are leaving behind pieces of ourselves with every step. Yet, Lewis speaks to the transient nature of life and encourages us to see these moments not as endings, but as necessary closures that make space for something even more beautiful and meaningful. By emphasizing that better things are ahead, Lewis also gently warns against the dangers of becoming too attached to the past, whether it's a material possession, a stage of life, or even an identity we've outgrown. The past has its place. It shapes us, teaches us, and enriches us, but we must not allow it to anchor us. The joy and fulfillment that await us in the future can only be fully realized if we let go of what no longer serves us, and if we trust that life, in all its unpredictability, is still unfolding with greater things in store. Moreover, this message calls for a mindset of openness, an openness to new experiences, new challenges, and new chapters that might stretch us beyond what we think we're capable of. It asks us to have courage, to believe that the struggles we face are temporary and that through them, we are being prepared for something greater, something more rewarding. Lewis's words resonate with a timeless truth. The future is alive with possibility, but only if we are brave enough to release the grip on what is behind us. It's a reminder that no matter how difficult a chapter may seem, there is always more to come. More joy, more growth, more love. By keeping our hearts open and our spirits hopeful, we allow ourselves to embrace all that life still has to offer. The best, indeed, is yet to come. 3. Nothing in life is ours to keep. The concept that nothing in life is ours to keep resonates with a profound and timeless truth about the fleeting nature of existence. This idea challenges our instinctual desire to hold on to things, whether they are material possessions, relationships, or even our own experiences, reminding us that the true essence of life is found not in possession, but in the act of letting go. At its core, this belief suggests that life, in all its beauty and transience, is meant to be shared, appreciated, and eventually released. Nothing we acquire, no matter how valuable or cherished, is ever truly ours. It all flows through our lives like a river, offering moments of joy, meaning, and sometimes pain before moving onward. In a material sense, this idea speaks to the hollow pursuit of wealth and accumulation. While society often encourages us to measure success by what we own or achieve, Lewis's notion suggests that the greatest fulfillment comes not from possessing things, but from giving them away. Generosity, The willingness to share what we have with others enriches our lives in a way that mere ownership never can. By loosening our grip on material goods, we allow ourselves to experience the profound satisfaction of knowing that we have contributed to the well-being of others. The act of giving creates an emotional and spiritual abundance far greater than any physical accumulation ever could. But beyond the material, there is a deeper, more spiritual interpretation of this idea. Nothing in life is ours to keep can be understood as a call to transcend selfishness and embrace the impermanence of everything. In clinging to people, possessions, or experiences, we create a false sense of security, as if by holding on, we can somehow stop time or avoid the inevitable changes that life brings. Yet, it is in releasing our attachments that we find true freedom. By accepting that everything in life is temporary, we open ourselves to a greater truth. That fulfillment comes from our connections to others, to love, and to something larger than ourselves, whether it be community, purpose, or faith. This perspective invites us to live with a sense of humility and gratitude, recognizing that the beauty of life lies not in how much we can keep for ourselves, but in how much we can share. Each moment, each relationship, and each opportunity is a gift given to us for a time, but never fully ours. The more we try to grasp and control, the more we miss out on the richness that life offers when we simply allow ourselves to experience it fully and then let it pass. Lewis's idea encourages us to approach life with an open heart, to cherish the moments we have, and to embrace the natural ebb and flow of existence. In doing so, we become more attuned to the deeper currents of life, the joy of giving, the peace in releasing, and the wisdom in knowing that everything, in the end, belongs to the cycle of life, death, and renewal. By understanding that nothing is truly ours to keep, we learn to value the present, honor the past, and face the future with courage, knowing that even though we must let go, we are always part of something far greater than ourselves. In this letting go, we find a paradoxical sense of possession, not of things, but of meaning, purpose, and connection. And it is these intangible treasures, not material goods or fleeting moments, that we carry with us. They are not ours to keep, but they are ours to experience, to give, and to share with the world. 4. Give up yourself, and you will find your real self. This profound concept is at the heart of many spiritual and philosophical teachings, emphasizing the idea that to discover our true essence, we must first let go of the constructed self, the ego that shapes our desires, ambitions, and sense of identity. When C.S.Lewis encourages us to give up yourself, he is not suggesting a loss of self in the conventional sense, but rather a release from the layers of identity that are rooted in superficiality. These layers, carefully built through societal expectations, material pursuits, and the relentless quest for approval, often distance us from our deeper, more authentic nature. We become trapped in a cycle of self-deception, believing that our worth is tied to what we own, what we achieve, or how others perceive us. To give up oneself in this context is to undergo a process of detachment. It involves stepping away from the ego's insatiable demands for recognition and validation, and instead embracing a more humble and grounded approach to life. This detachment is not about renouncing the world or our responsibilities, but about freeing ourselves from the illusion that our identity is defined by external factors. The real self, as Lewis suggests, is found beneath these surface layers, a self that is rooted in compassion, inner peace, and a sense of connection to something greater than individual ambition. By letting go of the need to constantly assert, achieve, or control, we open the door to a deeper understanding of who we truly are. In this space of surrender, we are no longer bound by the limited identity shaped by societal norms. We become attuned to our soul's calling, to the values and truths that transcend the temporary. This journey toward the real self is often challenging, as it requires us to confront our attachments and fears. We may fear that by giving up the ego, we will lose a part of ourselves that has defined us for so long. Yet, the paradox at the heart of this teaching is that it is only through this surrender that we can discover the full richness of our being. The real self is not diminished by the act of giving up. Rather, it is revealed in its true, unadulterated form. It is a self that is no longer shackled by the need for constant validation, but is instead free to experience life with clarity, authenticity, and purpose. 5. Don't doubt your value. Don't run from who you are. In a world where self-doubt and insecurity often plague us, C.S. Lewis's words provide a deeply comforting and empowering message. Don't doubt your value. Don't run from who you are. These simple yet profound words encourage us to recognize the intrinsic worth that lies within each of us, independent of external circumstances, achievements, or comparisons. In a society that constantly pushes us to measure ourselves against others, to strive for perfection, and to attain certain ideals of success or beauty, it is easy to lose sight of our inherent value. We begin to question our worth, doubting whether we are enough as we are, and often, in response to these doubts, we run from ourselves, from our imperfections, from the truth of who we are. Lewis's call to not doubt our value is a reminder that we are inherently valuable, not because of what we do or how we compare to others, but simply because we exist. Our value is a reflection of our unique essence, our thoughts, emotions, talents, and imperfections, which together create a singular contribution to the world. By encouraging us not to run from who we are, Lewis is inviting us to embrace our true selves with all our flaws and vulnerabilities. To run from ourselves is to deny the full spectrum of our humanity, to reject the very aspects of ourselves that make us unique. It is an act of fear, driven by the mistaken belief that we must be perfect or live up to some external standard to be worthy of love, respect, or acceptance. Yet, true fulfillment and self-realization come not from running away from our imperfections, but from confronting and embracing them. To stop running means to stand still and face ourselves with courage, to acknowledge our strengths and weaknesses alike, and to love ourselves in our entirety. It is in this act of self-acceptance that we find true peace and meaning. We stop striving to be something we are not, and instead, we begin to live authentically in alignment with our true nature. In this way, Lewis's message is not just about recognizing our value, but about living in a way that honors and expresses that value fully. 6. If you find in yourself desires that nothing in this world can satisfy, the only logical explanation is that you were made for another world. This statement speaks to a deeply human experience, the sense that despite all the pleasures, achievements, and relationships we may encounter in life, there remains a longing, a hunger, that nothing in this world can fully satisfy. C.S. Lewis taps into this universal feeling of incompleteness, suggesting that such unquenchable desires point to a reality beyond the physical world, a realm of existence where these deeper longings can be fulfilled. This idea resonates with many spiritual and philosophical traditions, which view human life on Earth as part of a larger, cosmic journey toward a higher reality. In our daily lives, we often chase after things, success, wealth, love, recognition, in the hope that they will bring us lasting fulfillment. And yet, time and again, we find that these worldly achievements, while bringing temporary happiness or satisfaction, do not fully address the deeper yearning within us. This yearning is not for more material goods or accolades, but for something transcendent, something that speaks to the soul and its eternal nature. Lewis suggests that this sense of longing, this feeling that something is missing, is a clue to our true purpose. We were not made solely for this world. We were made for another world, one that lies beyond the physical and temporal. This idea invites us to consider life from a more spiritual perspective. Rather than focusing solely on earthly desires, we are called to look beyond, to seek out the deeper, more meaningful aspects of existence that align with our soul's eternal nature. This might manifest as a search for spiritual truth, a connection to the divine, or a pursuit of purpose that transcends material gain. In this sense, our desires are not misplaced or wrong. They're simply pointing us in the direction of our true home, a home that is not of this world, but of the spiritual realm where the soul finds its ultimate fulfillment. 7. You don't have a soul. You are a soul. You have a body. With this powerful statement, C.S. Lewis challenges the common perception of human identity, offering a perspective that places the soul at the center of our being. In a world that often prioritizes the physical, the body, appearance, and material possessions, Lewis reminds us that the true essence of who we are lies not in the body, but in the soul. You don't have a soul. You are a soul redefines our understanding of self, suggesting that the body is merely a vessel, a temporary container for the soul, which is eternal and transcendent. This idea is deeply rooted in many religious and spiritual traditions, which view the body as impermanent, subject to decay and death, while the soul continues to exist beyond physical life. By emphasizing that we are souls, Lewis invites us to shift our focus from the material to the spiritual, to recognize that our true identity is not bound by the limitations of the body or the physical world. Our soul, which is the core of our being, transcends time, space, and the constraints of the physical universe. This perspective encourages us to live with a greater awareness of our spiritual nature. It challenges us to care for the soul, to nurture it through love, compassion, wisdom, and connection to the divine. While the body is important and should be respected, it is ultimately secondary to the soul's eternal journey. This shift in focus allows us to live with a deeper sense of purpose and meaning, understanding that the true essence of who we are is not found in our physical form, but in the spiritual light that resides within us. Lewis's words remind us that life is not just about surviving in the physical world. It is about thriving in the spiritual realm, where our soul continues to grow, evolve, and find its ultimate fulfillment. If you're still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. 8. Don't shine so others can see you. Shine so that through you others can see God. This statement carries a profound spiritual message, deeply embedded in the Christian tradition of living as a testimony to God's presence and love. C.S. Lewis invites us to reframe the way we approach our lives, not as a stage for personal recognition or glory, but as a reflection of something much greater than ourselves. To shine, in this sense, means to live with purpose, integrity, and kindness, but not for the sake of self-promotion or praise. Instead, Lewis calls us to live in a way that directs attention to God, to a higher truth that transcends our existence. In a world where the pursuit of validation and recognition often becomes an overwhelming focus, this idea offers a radical shift in perspective. It challenges us to move away from ego-driven desires and the relentless need to be seen, admired, or acknowledged by others. Instead, it asks us to embrace humility, recognizing that the true purpose of our light is not to glorify ourselves, but to illuminate the path for others to find something divine, something sacred. This shift from self-centeredness to other-centeredness promotes a life of service, where our actions, words, and character serve as a living testament to the goodness, mercy, and love of God. Living in such a way requires a deep sense of authenticity and generosity. It means striving to embody the values of compassion, kindness, and humility, not for the accolades we might receive, but because doing so allows others to witness something greater than individual human achievement. By shining in this manner, we become vessels through which others can see glimpses of divinity in the world, whether through acts of service, expressions of love, or simply by living with grace and integrity. Our lives, then, become a form of worship, where the light we emit serves to guide others toward their connection with the divine. This perspective calls us to be mindful of how we live and what we reflect. It invites us to step out of the spotlight and instead focus on how our presence in the world can elevate others, not ourselves. In this way, we fulfill a higher purpose by being the hands, the heart, and the voice through which others can experience God's love and presence in their own lives. 9. Hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny. C.S. Lewis's insight into the nature of hardship reveals a powerful truth about the transformative potential of adversity. When we face challenges, setbacks, and struggles, it is easy to view them as roadblocks or unfair burdens. However, Lewis suggests that these difficult experiences are not random or meaningless. Rather, they are essential parts of the journey towards something greater. Hardships, he implies, are not just obstacles to overcome, but are the very things that shape us, mold our character, and prepare us for extraordinary destinies that we may not yet be able to see. The idea that ordinary people are capable of achieving extraordinary destinies is rooted in the belief that greatness is not reserved for a select few, but that it is within reach for everyone if only we are willing to endure and learn from the hardships we face. It is through the refining fire of adversity that we discover our true strengths, develop resilience, and cultivate virtues such as patience, compassion, and humility. These are the qualities that ultimately equip us to rise to the occasion when extraordinary opportunities or challenges present themselves. Lewis touches on the notion that there is a divine order or purpose behind the hardships we encounter. Rather than viewing these difficulties as random misfortunes, we are encouraged to see them as part of a larger plan, one that is preparing us for something beyond what we can currently imagine. This perspective can be incredibly comforting during times of trial, as it offers a sense of meaning and hope. Even in moments of deep suffering or uncertainty, we are reminded that these experiences are not without purpose. They are shaping us, preparing us, and guiding us toward a destiny that we may not yet fully understand. Moreover, the concept of waiting is central to this process of preparation. Lewis suggests that God does not make anyone wait unless it is good for them to wait, highlighting the importance of patience and trust in divine timing. While we may feel frustrated or disheartened during periods of waiting, these moments are often when the most profound growth occurs. Patience teaches us to rely on something greater than ourselves, to trust in the unfolding of life's events, and to believe that what is meant for us will come in due time. In this way, Lewis encourages us to embrace not only the hardships but also the waiting, knowing that both are integral to our journey toward an extraordinary destiny. 10. Experience is the most brutal of teachers. By describing the experience as the most brutal of teachers, C.S. Lewis underscores the harsh, sometimes unforgiving nature of real-life learning. Unlike the controlled environment of a classroom or the theoretical knowledge we gain from books, experience teaches through direct and often painful encounters with reality. It exposes us to failure, disappointment, loss, and hardship, delivering lessons that can be both emotionally and physically taxing. Yet, despite its brutality, experience is also one of the most effective teachers. It forces us to confront the consequences of our actions and decisions in ways that theory or instruction simply cannot. Lewis's recognition of the brutality of experience also highlights the intensity of the learning that comes from it. The lessons we gain from real-life challenges are often seared into our consciousness and not easily forgotten because they are learned through personal struggle. Whether it's a failed relationship, a financial loss, or a personal setback, these experiences leave a lasting imprint on us, shaping our future choices and behaviors. The phrase, "But you learn, my God, do you learn?" emphasizes that while the process may be painful, it is also transformative. The knowledge and wisdom we gain from experience are deep, internalized, and often life-changing. This statement also speaks to the resilience that experience fosters. Those who have been through difficult experiences often emerge stronger, wiser, and more capable of handling future challenges. While the brutality of experience may break us down at times, it also builds us up, equipping us with the tools we need to navigate life's complexities with greater skill and insight. In this sense, experience is not just a teacher, it is a catalyst for growth, pushing us beyond our comfort zones and into a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. 11. Repeated failures are fingerposts on the road to achievement. In this statement, C.S. Lewis reframes the concept of failure, offering a perspective that is both hopeful and empowering. By likening failures to fingerposts or signposts, he suggests that each failure serves as a guide, pointing us in the direction of eventual success. Far from being setbacks, failures are valuable indicators that provide us with crucial information about what isn't working, where we need to improve, or how we need to adjust our approach. Rather than viewing failure as an end, Lewis encourages us to see it as part of the journey, an essential part of the road to achievement. This idea promotes a mindset of resilience and persistence. Failure, in this view, is not something to be feared or avoided, but embraced as an inevitable and necessary part of the process. Each failure brings us one step closer to our goal, because with each failure comes the opportunity to learn, adapt, and grow. The concept of failing forward suggests that even when we fall short, we are still making progress, as long as we are willing to learn from our mistakes and keep moving forward. Lewis's words also challenge the perfectionism that often paralyzes people from taking risks or pursuing their dreams. The fear of failure can be so overwhelming that it prevents us from even trying. But by recognizing that failure is not a final destination but a stepping stone, we free ourselves to take bold steps, knowing that every misstep is simply part of the learning process. This perspective fosters a sense of hope and determination, reminding us that failure is not the opposite of success, but an integral part of it. 12. You're never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. C.S. Lewis's statement offers a stirring reminder that the human spirit is boundless, transcending the constraints of age, time, and societal expectations. In a world that often tells us that certain milestones should be achieved by certain ages, that dreams are for the young and the bold, Lewis rejects this notion with a message of limitless possibility. The essence of his message is that life is a continuous journey, not defined by age, but by the capacity to evolve, aspire, and seek fulfillment. This perspective is particularly liberating for those who may feel that opportunities have passed them by, or that they are too old to pursue passions that have long been deferred. Whether it's a new career, a creative pursuit, or a personal transformation, Lewis asserts that the possibility for growth and renewal is always present, no matter where we are in life. Age should not be seen as a barrier, but as a platform of wisdom and experience from which new dreams can take flight. At its core, this message is about rejecting self-imposed limitations and societal expectations that often accompany aging. It's a powerful affirmation that as long as we are alive, we can dream and pursue new goals. This idea resonates not only with individuals facing the later stages of life, but also with anyone who feels stuck in their current path. Lewis's words encourage us to redefine success, to see it not as something achieved at a specific time, but as an ongoing process of discovery, growth, and renewal. The capacity to dream is ageless, and with every new dream comes the opportunity to redefine our lives, our purpose, and our potential. 13. Don't let your happiness depend on something you may lose. C.S. Lewis offers a profound reflection on the fragile nature of happiness when it is tied to impermanent external sources. The message is a call to reconsider where we place our sense of joy and fulfillment, urging us to shift our focus from the transient to the enduring. In a world where material possessions, social status, and even personal relationships can change or disappear unexpectedly, grounding our happiness in these external elements leaves us vulnerable to disappointment and loss. Lewis's insight challenges us to look deeper, to seek a form of happiness that is not so easily shaken by the inevitable changes and losses of life. He encourages us to cultivate an inner sense of contentment that is based on more stable and intrinsic factors, values such as self-love, inner peace, gratitude, and spirituality. By grounding our happiness in virtues that are within our control, we become less susceptible to the turmoil of life's unpredictability. This idea promotes a form of resilience, suggesting that true happiness is not about clinging to things we fear losing, but about developing a state of mind and heart that remains intact regardless of external circumstances. It encourages us to find joy in the present moment, in the intrinsic beauty of life, rather than attaching our sense of worth and happiness to things that can be taken away. In doing so, we not only protect ourselves from unnecessary suffering, but also learn to live more fully, appreciating life's fleeting moments without becoming dependent on them for our sense of joy. 14. This world is a great sculptor's workshop. In this beautifully evocative metaphor, Lewis paints a picture of the world as a vast sculptor's workshop, where each of us is like a block of marble, slowly being shaped by the experiences and forces we encounter in life. The tools of the sculptor, our hardships, relationships, opportunities, and trials, chisel away at the raw material of our being, gradually revealing our true form. Life, in this analogy, is a process of refinement, where we are continually shaped and reshaped by the hands of time, circumstance, and perhaps even a divine will. The idea that we are unfinished statues speaks to the ongoing nature of personal growth and transformation. No matter where we are in life, we are always in the process of becoming. Every experience, no matter how painful or joyful, contributes to the sculpting of our character, values, and soul. The challenges we face, much like the chisel to the marble, may feel harsh and difficult at the moment, but they are essential to shaping us into our fullest potential. Lewis has mentioned that some statues will come to life, adds a layer of meaning, suggesting that some individuals will reach a state of spiritual or personal awakening. These are the people who, through their experiences and reflections, come to understand their true purpose, their essential nature, and their connection to something greater than themselves. This moment of coming to life can be seen as a metaphor for enlightenment, personal fulfillment, or the realization of one's divine purpose. It's a reminder that the trials of life are not arbitrary. They are part of a greater process of becoming, and the result is a more fully realized, authentic self. 15. We are mirrors, whose brightness is wholly derived from the sun that shines upon us. This metaphorical statement from Lewis offers a reflection on the nature of human existence and the source of our light, meaning, and purpose. By comparing ourselves to mirrors, Lewis suggests that we do not generate our light. Rather, we reflect the light of something greater, symbolized by the sun. In a spiritual context, this sun can be understood as God, love, truth, or beauty. Our brightness, then, is not self-generated, but is derived from our connection to this higher source. This notion of being mirrors speaks to the idea of humility and dependence. It reminds us that our worth and our ability to shine are not solely our own doing, but are the result of the light we receive from something beyond ourselves. This light might manifest in various forms, whether it's the love we give and receive, the truth we seek and share, or the goodness we reflect in our actions. Our role as mirrors is to keep ourselves clean and bright so that we can reflect this light as clearly and as fully as possible. Lewis's mention of keeping the self clean and bright adds a moral and spiritual dimension to this metaphor. Just as a dirty mirror cannot effectively reflect the light, so too, our ability to reflect goodness, truth, and divinity is clouded by our faults, biases, or spiritual neglect. The clearer and purer we are internally, through virtues like kindness, humility, and integrity, the more effectively we can reflect the light of the divine to the world around us. In this sense, Lewis calls us to live lives of intentionality, where we strive not for our glory, but to reflect something greater. Our brightness, our ability to impact others in the world, is dependent on the extent to which we remain connected to the source of that light, and on how diligently we work to remove the obstacles, whether they be ego, pride, or selfishness, that dim our reflection. By doing so, we become vessels of light, not for our own sake, but so that through us, others can see and experience the warmth and brilliance of something far greater than ourselves. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment on number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. 16. There are 2 kinds of people: those who say to God, "Thy will be done," and those to whom God says, "In the end, thy will be done." In this thought-provoking reflection, C.S. Lewis touches upon the essential human choice between surrendering to divine will or insisting on following one's desires, regardless of the consequences. The first group, those who say to God, "Thy will be done," are individuals who willingly submit their lives, ambitions, and desires to God, trusting that His plan is ultimately better than anything they could envision for themselves. This submission is not an act of defeat, but one of profound faith and trust in God's wisdom, sovereignty, and goodness. It reflects the belief that the divine will align with a greater good, often beyond what we can immediately comprehend, and that through this surrender, one aligns with a higher purpose. On the other hand, those to whom God says, "In the end, thy will be done," are individuals who, by insisting on their path, choose to separate themselves from divine guidance. In granting them the freedom to choose their way, God respects their autonomy, but this freedom comes with consequences. When God allows an individual to follow their will, even if it leads to a path of separation or harm, He does so out of respect for human freedom, a fundamental aspect of divine justice. Lewis suggests that while God's will is always available, He does not force His will upon anyone. If a person is determined to reject divine guidance, they are ultimately left to face the consequences of their choices, which may lead to spiritual emptiness or distance from God. This reflection illustrates the duality of human freedom and divine grace. It challenges us to consider the implications of our choices and to reflect on whether we are willing to align with something greater than ourselves or risk the isolation and consequences of choosing only our desires. Lewis's words remind us that true freedom is not found in pursuing every personal whim, but in the surrender to a greater, more loving plan that leads us toward fulfillment and purpose. 17. I have no duty to be anyone's friend, and no man in the world has a duty to be mine. Lewis's perspective on friendship is strikingly philosophical, offering an insight into the nature of human relationships that goes beyond mere social conventions. By stating that no man in the world must be mine, Lewis removes the sense of obligation often associated with relationships. In contrast to relationships that are formed out of necessity or social expectation, such as familial or professional bonds, friendship, according to Lewis, is entirely voluntary. There is no compulsion to befriend anyone, nor should there be any expectation for someone to befriend us. This voluntary nature of friendship is what makes it so valuable and enriching. Lewis likens it to philosophy, art, and the universe itself, noting that while none of these things are essential for survival, they give meaning and depth to life. Friendship is unnecessary in the sense that it does not serve a direct purpose for survival, as food and shelter do, but it provides something far more profound. It enhances our experience of living, making life not just bearable but beautiful. Just as art and philosophy enrich the human experience by offering deeper insights and joy, friendship offers connection, laughter, and companionship, transforming mere existence into something deeply fulfilling. Furthermore, Lewis's view that friendship is based on free choice rather than duty underscores its authenticity. True friendships are formed when individuals choose to share their thoughts, experiences, and lives with one another, without any sense of obligation or expectation of return. This mutual freedom is what makes friendship such a powerful bond, one that is sustained by a genuine desire to connect and share rather than by social necessity. Through this lens, friendship becomes an elevated form of human interaction, a gift that we give and receive freely, making it one of the most enriching aspects of life. 18. You will never make a good impression on other people until you stop thinking about what sort of impression you are making. In this reflection, Lewis addresses the paradox of human relationships. The more we try to consciously craft a certain image of ourselves, the less authentic and genuine we appear to others. The effort to control or manipulate how others perceive us often results in an impression of insincerity, as people can sense when someone is more concerned with how they appear than with the actual interaction. Lewis suggests that the key to making a true and lasting impression lies not in self-conscious effort, but in the abandonment of such concerns. When we stop fixating on the impression we are making, we free ourselves to be fully present in the moment, allowing for more meaningful and honest interactions. Authenticity, which comes from being unapologetically ourselves, is far more appealing than any carefully constructed persona. People are naturally drawn to those who are genuine because authenticity fosters trust and connection. By shifting our focus from ourselves to the other person, we are better able to listen, engage, and respond in meaningful ways, creating a deeper and more sincere bond. This advice is also liberating because it encourages us to let go of the anxiety and pressure that come from constantly trying to manage others' perceptions. Instead of worrying about being liked or admired, we can focus on being true to ourselves and present with others. Ironically, it is often when we stop trying to impress that we make the most significant and lasting impressions, as authenticity is inherently attractive. 19. To love at all is to be vulnerable. With this statement, C.S. Lewis offers a poignant and insightful reflection on the nature of love and the inherent risks involved in opening one's heart to others. Love, whether for another person, an animal, or even an idea or passion, involves vulnerability because it requires us to open ourselves up to the possibility of loss, pain, and disappointment. To truly love is to risk being hurt, as the act of loving means giving a part of oneself to another, relinquishing control over the outcome. This vulnerability is both the beauty and the danger of love. Lewis acknowledges that the only way to avoid the pain that comes with love is to close ourselves off completely, to refuse to love anyone or anything. However, this form of self-protection comes at a much higher cost. By locking our hearts away in a fortress, safe from harm, we also shut ourselves off from one of the most enriching and life-affirming experiences of human existence, love itself. The heart, when kept isolated and impenetrable, becomes hardened, incapable of experiencing the joys, connections, and growth that come from love. The paradox of love, as Lewis presents it, is that while it exposes us to pain, it is also the source of our greatest fulfillment. The only way to truly live and love is to embrace this vulnerability, accepting that pain is a natural part of the human experience. Without vulnerability, we may avoid pain, but we also miss out on the profound beauty and richness that love brings to life. 20. What draws people to be friends is that they see the same truth. Lewis's reflection on the nature of friendship highlights the importance of shared understanding and mutual recognition of deeper truths. True friendships, he suggests, are not formed simply by shared interests or proximity, but are rooted in a common vision or perception of the world. This same truth can refer to a shared belief system, a common understanding of life's values, or even a mutual appreciation for certain intellectual or spiritual ideas. In this sense, friendship is not just about enjoying each other's company, but about discovering and exploring a shared reality. When two people recognize the same truth, whether it's a moral principle, a philosophical idea, or even an artistic appreciation, they form a bond that transcends surface-level connections. This shared understanding creates a foundation for deep and lasting friendships, as it reflects a mutual recognition of something important and meaningful. Friendships based on this deeper connection tend to be more resilient and enduring, as they are built on a solid foundation of shared values and truths. Such relationships are not easily swayed by changing circumstances or superficial disagreements because they are rooted in something more profound. Lewis's insight suggests that the strongest and most meaningful friendships are those that are based on a mutual discovery of truth, where both individuals feel understood and connected on a fundamental level. This recognition of shared truth creates a sense of companionship and belonging that is one of the most fulfilling aspects of human life. 21. Love is a steady wish for the loved person's ultimate good. C.S. Lewis's definition of love goes beyond the transient emotions of passion, infatuation, or even affection. He views love as a steady and deliberate commitment to the well-being of the other, regardless of external circumstances or the fluctuations of personal feelings. This concept of love is rooted in action, selflessness, and the enduring wish for the ultimate good of the loved person. It is a profound reimagining of love, focusing not on what one gains from the relationship, but on what one gives. Lewis's idea emphasizes that love is not a fleeting emotion, but rather a long-term, volitional act of the will. To love someone, in this sense, means continuously prioritizing their best interests, even when it is difficult or inconvenient. This kind of love involves sacrifice, patience, and persistence, as it often requires setting aside one's desires or immediate gratification in favor of what is best for the other. It is love in its most mature form, one that seeks the highest good for the other person, not out of obligation, but out of genuine care. By qualifying this wish as the supreme good so far as it can be attained, Lewis acknowledges the limitations of human ability and the reality of the world we live in. While we may strive to wish and work for the best for those we love, we are constrained by the limits of our resources, knowledge, and circumstances. However, this limitation does not diminish the value of the effort. The act of continually working toward the good of another, even within these limitations, is what defines true love. It is a steady, enduring process, one that does not waver in the face of hardship or disappointment, and that persists even when emotions fluctuate. 22. Do not waste time bothering whether you love your neighbor. Act as if you did, and you will. In this reflection, Lewis presents a pragmatic approach to one of the most challenging ethical directives: loving one's neighbor. Instead of becoming consumed with the question of whether we feel genuine love for others, he advises us to act as if we already do. This perspective reflects the idea that love is not solely an emotion, but a practice. It is something that can be cultivated through deliberate action, regardless of the emotional state we are in at any given moment. By advocating for action over introspection, Lewis suggests that feelings of love can often follow behaviors that reflect love. When we act kindly, generously, and compassionately toward others, we create the conditions for genuine feelings of love to develop. This approach challenges the notion that love must always originate from deep emotional attachment or affection. Instead, it posits that by committing to acts of love, through patience, generosity, and kindness, our feelings toward others will eventually align with our actions. This idea is especially powerful in the context of difficult relationships or when we struggle to feel positive emotions toward others. Lewis encourages us not to wait for the right feelings to come before we act lovingly, but to start by behaving lovingly. Over time, this practice has the potential to transform our hearts and minds, allowing us to cultivate deeper, more authentic love for others. 23. No man knows how bad he is till he has tried very hard to be good. C.S. Lewis's insight into human nature reflects the complexity of the struggle for moral goodness. He suggests that it is only in the effort to live up to high ethical or moral standards that we truly come face to face with the darker aspects of our character. Trying to be good reveals our weaknesses, flaws, and tendencies towards selfishness or laziness in ways that a more complacent life does not. This reflection offers a humbling perspective on human nature. It implies that while many people may believe themselves to be good or virtuous, it is often because they have not yet seriously tested their character by striving for higher ideals. The effort to be consistently virtuous, to be patient, kind, honest, and selfless, inevitably brings us into conflict with our impulses and shortcomings. This struggle reveals the persistence of negative tendencies that we may not have been fully aware of, thus deepening our understanding of our limitations. The process of trying and sometimes failing to be good is an essential part of moral growth. It forces us to confront the reality of our imperfections and encourages humility, as we realize that true goodness is far more challenging to achieve than we might have assumed. This acknowledgement of our flaws, however, is not cause for despair, but rather an invitation to keep striving, to continue learning from our failures, and to cultivate a deeper sense of empathy and patience for ourselves and others. 24. In God, there is no hunger that needs to be filled, only plenteousness that desires to give. This profound reflection offers insight into the nature of God's relationship with humanity, emphasizing the contrast between human needs and divine abundance. Lewis suggests that while humans are driven by desires and needs, constantly seeking fulfillment and satisfaction, God operates from a place of absolute fullness. Unlike humans, who often give or act out of necessity, lack, or self-interest, God's giving is a pure expression of his infinite generosity. No deficiency in God requires him to take from others. Instead, his nature is one of overflowing love, a plenteousness that continually seeks to give to his creation. This depiction of God highlights the idea that his love and generosity are not transactional. God does not love or give to us because he needs something in return. Rather, he gives out of his abundant nature. This understanding of divine love as self-sufficient and unconditional can be both comforting and inspiring for believers. It portrays God as a source of infinite goodness, who desires to share his fullness with humanity, not because of any deficiency in himself, but because love, by its very nature, seeks to give. Lewis's reflection also invites humans to aspire to a similar form of generosity. While we cannot fully escape our own needs and desires, we can strive to give and love more selflessly, imitating the divine model of plenteousness that seeks to give without expectation of return. This view of God as an infinite source of giving challenges us to rethink our motivations and cultivate a spirit of generosity that reflects God's abundant love. 25. If a person thinks she is not conceited, she is very conceited indeed. In this paradoxical observation, Lewis points to the elusive and often deceptive nature of pride. He suggests that the very act of believing oneself to be humble or free from conceit is, in itself, a form of conceit. This is because such a belief implies a degree of self-satisfaction and moral superiority, the idea that one has mastered a virtue that others may struggle with. By thinking we are free from pride, we ironically reveal our pride, as this thought reflects a subtle sense of personal accomplishment or moral elevation. Lewis's insight reminds us of the complexity of achieving true humility. Genuine humility is not about denying our strengths or achievements, but about maintaining an honest and balanced view of ourselves, recognizing both our gifts and our limitations. True humility involves a continual process of self-examination and acknowledgement of our fallibility, rather than the assumption that we have already conquered our weaknesses. This reflection also serves as a caution against the dangers of self-deception. It encourages us to remain vigilant in our pursuit of humility, understanding that the very moment we believe we have achieved it is often the moment we are furthest from it. True humility requires an ongoing willingness to question our motives, to admit our faults, and to accept that we are always in the process of growth and learning. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 4 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. 26. Pride is spiritual cancer. C.S. Lewis's comparison of pride to spiritual cancer reveals the destructive nature of this vice, suggesting that it erodes the very core of a person's spiritual and emotional well-being. Like cancer, pride silently grows within, corrupting an individual's capacity to love, connect with others, and perceive the truth. It begins subtly, with a sense of superiority or self-importance, but as it takes root, it spreads, isolating the person from the world around them and even from God. Lewis warns that pride blinds us, both to our faults and to the beauty and goodness of others. In its most extreme form, pride cuts us off from the very things that give life meaning, love, humility, and connection to the divine. By describing pride as spiritual cancer, Lewis emphasizes that it is not a trivial flaw or a simple vice, but a profound disorder of the soul. Pride prevents individuals from seeing beyond themselves, leading to a distorted worldview where everything is measured against their desires, achievements, or judgments. This self-centered perspective makes it impossible to fully experience love or wisdom because pride creates a barrier between the individual and the world. Lewis's use of the word cancer suggests that pride, left unchecked, is not only destructive but also progressive, worsening over time and consuming the very essence of the person. The only cure, Lewis implies, is humility, a conscious effort to acknowledge one's limitations and to embrace the grace and guidance of something greater than oneself. 27. Only the pure in heart want to see God. This statement from C.S. Lewis highlights the intrinsic connection between spiritual purity and the sincere desire to encounter the divine. Purity of heart, in this context, refers to inner clarity, a state of being free from selfish motivations, falsehoods, and distractions that obscure the truth. Lewis suggests that the desire to see and know God is not merely an intellectual pursuit or a fleeting wish, but a deep, soulful longing that arises from a purified heart, one that is focused on truth, goodness, and love. Purity of heart does not necessarily mean perfection or the absence of mistakes, but rather a sincere orientation toward what is good and true. It implies the stripping away of pride, greed, and other disordered attachments that cloud spiritual vision. Those who are pure in heart are free from the distortions of ego and self-interest, and as a result, they have a clear vision of what is truly important. Their desire to see God stems from a place of genuine love and humility, recognizing that ultimate fulfillment comes from communion with the divine. Lewis's statement also carries an implicit challenge: to seek purity of heart in our own lives. This means cultivating virtues such as honesty, compassion, and humility, and letting go of the things that cloud our judgment or lead us away from our spiritual path. In doing so, we not only open ourselves to the possibility of encountering God, but also align our lives with the deeper truths that bring peace and purpose. 28. Human history is the long, terrible story of man trying to find something other than God which will make him happy. In this sweeping critique of human history, Lewis reflects on the futility of humanity's search for happiness and fulfillment in things other than God. He observes that throughout history, humans have pursued wealth, power, pleasure, and various forms of worldly success, believing that these things will bring lasting contentment. However, as Lewis points out, this quest is ultimately doomed to fail because true happiness and peace cannot be found in the material world or human achievements alone. Lewis's statement underscores the idea that humans are inherently spiritual beings and that the deepest longings of the heart cannot be satisfied by anything less than a relationship with the divine. By turning away from God and seeking happiness in lesser things, humanity has not only failed to find lasting joy, but has also created a long and tragic history of conflict, oppression, and disillusionment. Wars, poverty, and exploitation. All of these, Lewis suggests, are symptoms of humanity's misguided attempts to fill the void left by the absence of God in our lives. The rhetorical question, what will you look for help if you will not look to that which is stronger than yourself? Further emphasizes the point that human beings, in their limited capacity, cannot achieve true happiness or solve the deeper problems of existence without turning to something greater than themselves. For Lewis, that something is God, the source of all truth, love, and fulfillment. His reflection serves as both a warning and an invitation to recognize the futility of seeking happiness in transient things and to turn instead toward the eternal source of joy and peace. 29. Forgiving does not mean excusing. Lewis makes an important distinction between forgiveness and excusing behavior, emphasizing that true forgiveness involves acknowledging the wrong while choosing not to hold it against the offender. To forgive someone does not mean that we pretend the offense never happened or that we excuse the harm caused. Rather, forgiveness requires recognizing the full weight of the wrongdoing, accepting the reality of the pain caused, and then making a conscious decision to let go of resentment and the desire for revenge. This distinction is crucial because it preserves the integrity of both justice and mercy. In excusing someone's behavior, we may minimize or justify the offense, which can prevent true healing and reconciliation. Forgiveness, on the other hand, acknowledges the seriousness of the wrong, but chooses to extend grace despite it. It is an act of moral courage, one that requires both strength and compassion. Lewis reminds us that forgiveness is not about forgetting or condoning harmful behavior, but about freeing ourselves from the bitterness and anger that can consume us when we hold on to grudges. Lewis's reflection on forgiveness also speaks to the power of love and mercy. By forgiving others, we reflect the divine grace that has been extended to us, acknowledging that we are all imperfect and in need of forgiveness ourselves. This act of forgiveness is not just for the benefit of the offender, but also for the one who forgives, as it allows for healing, reconciliation, and the restoration of relationships. 30. Thirst was made for water, inquiry for truth. With this metaphor, Lewis beautifully captures the inherent human drive to seek truth and understanding. Just as physical thirst drives us to seek water to sustain our bodies, our intellectual and spiritual thirst drives us to seek truth to nourish our minds and souls. This comparison emphasizes the idea that the pursuit of truth is as natural and essential to human existence as the need for water. It is part of what makes us human, the innate desire to understand the world, to make sense of our experiences, and to find meaning in life. Lewis suggests that this thirst for truth is not arbitrary, but purposeful. Just as thirst points us toward water, our inquiries point us toward the truth, which is ultimately found in God. The search for knowledge, meaning, and purpose is a reflection of our deeper spiritual nature, a manifestation of the soul's longing to connect with the divine and the eternal. This metaphor also encourages us to view the pursuit of truth as a lifelong journey, one that requires perseverance, humility, and openness. In the same way that our bodies need water to survive, our souls need truth to thrive. Lewis's reflection invites us to honor this thirst, embrace inquiry as a vital part of the human experience, and recognize that our search for truth is ultimately a search for God, the source of all wisdom and understanding. 31. Faith is the art of holding on to things your reason has once accepted in spite of your changing moods. C.S. Lewis offers a profound definition of faith, positioning it not as a blind belief, but as a conscious and disciplined effort to maintain conviction in the face of fluctuating emotions or circumstances. For Lewis, faith involves clinging to truths that one has already examined and accepted through reason, even when those truths are challenged by emotional states like doubt, fear, or despair. In this sense, faith becomes an active practice, requiring perseverance, patience, and the ability to return to rational principles when emotions attempt to undermine them. This conception of faith acknowledges the reality that human emotions are inconsistent and often unreliable when it comes to sustaining deep convictions. Moods shift, influenced by external events, internal feelings, or temporary fears. In these moments of vulnerability, it can be easy to lose sight of the rational foundations of one's beliefs. Lewis's statement emphasizes that faith is the ability to resist these emotional fluctuations and hold firmly to what one knows to be true. It's about trusting in the reasoned conclusions we have reached, even when our emotions push us in the opposite direction. By presenting faith as the art of holding on, Lewis highlights the deliberate, almost artistic nature of this process. It is something that requires cultivation and practice. Like any art form, it involves honing a skill, the skill of maintaining one's convictions through practice, reflection, and resilience. Ultimately, Lewis underscores that faith is not in opposition to reason, but rather a complementary force that helps sustain reason's conclusions through the ever-changing landscape of human emotion. 32. We meet no ordinary people in our lives. This simple, yet profound statement challenges the common perception that many of our interactions with others are mundane or inconsequential. C.S. Lewis suggests that every person we encounter is extraordinary, and each individual possesses a unique inner world, a complex set of experiences, emotions, and perspectives that make them special. Even those who might seem ordinary or unremarkable at first glance are, in fact, people of immense depth and potential. Lewis's insight encourages us to view our daily interactions with others in a new light. Whether it's a brief encounter with a stranger or a long-standing relationship, we are reminded that everyone we meet is carrying their own story, filled with struggles, joys, and dreams. By recognizing the inherent value and complexity in others, we are called to approach each interaction with empathy, curiosity, and respect. There are no ordinary people because each person is in some way extraordinary. This perspective also serves as a reminder of the importance of human connection. In acknowledging that everyone we meet is unique, we are invited to engage more deeply with those around us, to listen with intention, and to appreciate the richness that each person brings into our lives. Lewis's statement challenges us to look beyond the surface and to appreciate the remarkable individuality of every person we encounter, no matter how brief or seemingly insignificant the interaction. 33. Everyone thinks forgiveness is a lovely idea until he has something to forgive. C.S. Lewis's observation on forgiveness reflects the tension between the abstract idea of forgiveness and the difficult reality of practicing it. Many people intellectually agree that forgiveness is an admirable virtue, something that promotes healing, peace, and moral integrity. From a distance, the concept of forgiveness is often seen as noble, virtuous, and even easy to support. However, when faced with the actual task of forgiving someone who has hurt or wronged us, we often realize that forgiveness is far more challenging than we initially thought. This quote highlights the emotional complexity of forgiveness. It's easy to endorse forgiveness when we are not directly involved in a situation of hurt or betrayal. However, when the offense is personal, forgiveness can feel impossible, as emotions like anger, resentment, and pain come to the forefront. In such moments, the idea of forgiveness may seem less appealing, and the process of forgiving can feel like an enormous emotional hurdle. Lewis reminds us that while forgiveness is a lovely idea, it becomes truly meaningful and transformative only when we are willing to embrace its difficulty and work through the emotional pain involved. In this reflection, Lewis challenges us to move beyond the intellectual acceptance of forgiveness and to confront the real, often painful process of letting go of resentment. Forgiveness is not a passive or easy act. It requires inner strength, empathy, and a willingness to release the desire for revenge or retribution. By doing so, we allow space for healing, both for ourselves and for those who have wronged us. 34. Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. C.S. Lewis's definition of integrity emphasizes the importance of moral consistency, highlighting that true integrity is not about seeking approval or recognition from others. Instead, integrity involves adhering to ethical principles and doing what is right, even in the absence of external validation or consequences. This perspective challenges us to act by our values and morals, not because of the potential for reward or fear of punishment, but because it is the right thing to do. Lewis's focus on even when no one is watching suggests that integrity is deeply personal and internal. It is not dependent on the presence of an audience or authority figure to enforce behavior. Instead, it is rooted in an individual's commitment to their moral compass. This view of integrity requires self-discipline and self-awareness, as it asks us to hold ourselves accountable for our actions, even when no one else is around to witness them. This reflection also touches on the theme of authenticity. People with true integrity do not change their behavior based on who is observing them or whether they stand to gain or lose something. They remain consistent in their values and actions, regardless of external circumstances. Lewis's definition invites us to cultivate this kind of integrity in our own lives, encouraging us to be guided by our inner principles rather than by the expectations or opinions of others. Ultimately, Lewis presents integrity as a quality that requires strength, self-reflection, and an unwavering commitment to doing what is right. It is not about appearances or public praise, but about living in alignment with our values and maintaining our moral standards, even in the most private moments of our lives. 35. Children are not a distraction from more important work. They are the most important work. C.S. Lewis's quote underscores the central role that raising children plays in the lives of parents, educators, and caregivers. He challenges the notion that caring for children is a distraction from more important work, asserting instead that children themselves are the most significant work. This perspective emphasizes that nurturing, guiding, and educating the next generation is one of the most profound responsibilities a person can undertake. By viewing children as the most important work, Lewis elevates the role of parents and caretakers, suggesting that their influence on a child's development, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually, is unmatched in its significance. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment on number 5 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Lewis's statement reflects how society often perceives childcare. Many see it as a secondary task, an obligation to be managed while juggling professional aspirations or personal goals. However, Lewis calls for a fundamental shift in this mindset, asserting that raising children is not merely about fulfilling basic needs, but about shaping the future. The act of parenting involves much more than providing food, shelter, and safety. It is about instilling values, fostering curiosity, and preparing children to become compassionate, responsible, and capable adults. The implications of this idea are profound, especially in a world where career achievement and personal ambition are often prioritized over family life. Lewis's quote serves as a reminder that the impact parents have on their children's lives is lasting and immeasurable. By dedicating time, love, and care to children, parents are not only shaping individuals, but also contributing to the betterment of society as a whole. In recognizing children as the most important work, Lewis elevates the act of parenting to one of the highest callings in life, underscoring the profound responsibility and privilege of raising the next generation. 36. A children's story that can only be enjoyed by children is not a good children's story. C.S. Lewis believed that the best children's stories are those that resonate not only with young readers, but with people of all ages. A truly great children's story, he argues, should possess a universal quality that transcends age, offering meaning, wonder, and wisdom to both children and adults alike. Such stories are not limited by the simplicity of their language or the youth of their intended audience. Instead, they contain deeper truths, rich imagination, an emotional resonance that appeal to readers at any stage of life. This idea suggests that stories for children should be more than mere entertainment. They should engage the imagination and intellect, presenting timeless themes such as courage, friendship, love, and morality in ways that both challenge and inspire. Lewis's works, such as the Chronicles of Narnia, exemplify this principle. While they are beloved by children, they also offer layers of meaning that adults can appreciate, reflecting deeper philosophical, theological, and moral insights. By stating that a good children's story should captivate readers of all ages, Lewis also speaks to the enduring power of storytelling. He suggests that we never truly outgrow our need for stories that ignite the imagination and explore universal truths. The magic of these tales lies in their ability to speak to the human condition, regardless of the reader's age, making them timeless works that can be revisited throughout one's life. 37. True humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. C.S. Lewis redefines humility in this quote, challenging the traditional notion that humility involves self-deprecation or undervaluing oneself. Instead, he offers a more balanced and nuanced view. True humility is not about diminishing one's self-worth, but about shifting the focus away from oneself. It involves recognizing one's values and abilities without becoming overly preoccupied with them. Humility, in Lewis's view, is not about thinking poorly of oneself, but about thinking of others and their needs, placing less importance on the self. This perspective encourages a form of humility rooted in service and compassion. By thinking of ourselves less, we make space to care for others, prioritize their needs, and act with kindness and generosity. True humility, then, is not about denying one's strengths or pretending to be less capable, but about using those strengths in the service of others. It is the ability to acknowledge one's talents and achievements without allowing them to become the center of one's identity or actions. Lewis's definition of humility also invites us to reconsider the relationship between self-esteem and humility. Many people mistakenly believe that humility requires a kind of self-neglect or self-denial. However, Lewis clarifies that a healthy sense of self-worth is compatible with humility as long as we maintain a focus on others. True humility allows us to be confident in who we are, while also being generous, empathetic, and open to the needs and experiences of those around us. As we conclude this reflection on the wisdom of C.S. Lewis, take a moment to think about all the profound lessons we've explored, from the importance of humility and faith to the timeless value of nurturing children and seeking deeper meaning in life. What resonated with you the most? What have you learned so far? We'd love to hear from you. Please share one thing you've learned from these insights that you plan to put into practice in your own life. If you enjoyed this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more thought-provoking content. Your support helps us continue to explore meaningful ideas and bring more inspiring reflections to you. Thank you for watching.